Feel like you've seen all the scary and mysterious creatures in fancy documentaries? Well, today we're going to be diving into the real-life monsters that once roamed our planet. Forget the dragons and mythical beasts. These creatures were real, and they were terrifying. From giants that could crush cars under their feet to fierce predators that could outrun the fastest of us. This list is all about the true rulers of the ancient world. So, let's find out. Number 1. Dunkleosteus, the Devonian era's very own armored tank with fins. It was no ordinary fish either. This 33-foot-long giant did not bother with teeth. That'd be too mainstream for our Dunkleosteus. That's a weird name. Instead, this thing sported razor-sharp bone protrusions in its jaw. Think of it as nature's version of a Swiss Army knife, but way less handy for camping. These bone blades were the real deal. They grew continuously, and every time a Dunkleosteus closed its jaw, these bony bits would rub against each other, self-sharpening like a pair of scissors. It's as if they went to the dentist every day and said, "Make 'em sharper." This meant that its fangs were always in prime condition to slice through the toughest of ocean Happy Meals, from armored arthropods to the tank-like ammonites and even its fishy neighbors. Dunkleosteus could snap its jaws shut faster than you could blink. We're talking 50 to 60 milliseconds. That's less time than it takes for you to realize that you've made a bad decision. And let's not forget, the fish was 4 tons. That's like having a school bus in the water, but faster, hungrier, and with a much scarier front bumper. It prowled the inshore waters, probably causing all the other sea creatures to think twice before venturing into its neighborhood. Number 2. Helicoprion. Where do we even start with this ancient fish? This creature has baffled scientists for over 100 years, and for pretty good reasons. Why is it different? This fish has a fossilized whorl of teeth that look more like a tool in a wood shop than anything that you'd expect in a fish's mouth. For the longest time, all we had was this bizarre spiral of teeth, leading to some pretty wild guesses. Scientists' best guesses were that these teeth show up in the most unlikely of places. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing and the other half from a different puzzle. And then some bits of a jaw were found in 2013. Turns out that this fish's lower jaw was basically a buzzsaw. No upper teeth. It could both gum and bite you at the same time. It's a bit of an anomaly. When the jaw of the creature closes, its teeth rotate backwards in a manner reminiscent of a circular saw. This mechanism likely played a crucial role in its feeding habits, especially suited for consuming soft bodies of squids and other cephalopods. As the creature aged, its teeth continued to grow, following a spiral pattern. Number 3. The Titanoboa was a snake-like creature that's very real and probably the stuff of nightmares for anybody scared of snakes. At an average of 42 feet long, the Titanoboa was not your average garden variety snake. This serpent lived during the Paleocene epoch, and it was kind of a king of its domain. It had a unique hunting strategy. Think of a crocodile's method, but on a much, much larger scale. The Titanoboa would hang out, partially hidden at the water's edge, just waiting for some thirsty, unsuspecting creature to wander by. When an animal came close enough, it quickly captured it. The Titanoboa would strike from the water, wrapping its massive body around its prey and squeezing the poor creature into a deadly embrace. Titanoboa called the ancient rainforests of South America home, back when the climate was comfortably warmer than today's tropics. This sauna-like environment was perfect for our cold-blooded animals to grow in sizes. Seriously, this snake was so big that it could have made a meal out of an alligator and still had room for dessert. If you think Indiana Jones had it rough with regular snakes, just imagine for a second him coming face to face with the Titanoboa. We'd probably have a movie titled Indiana Jones and the Day He Decided to Retire. Number 4. Gigantopithecus. This creature was essentially a giant sea scorpion. It's something around 8 feet long with pinchers living in the water. That's taller than most Christmas trees and definitely not something that you want popping out of a gift box. All Eurypterids, that's the group of sea scorpions, could star in a horror show, honestly. And Gigantopithecus would take the lead, absolutely. If you've seen the facehuggers from Alien movies, you get a pretty good idea of what we're dealing with here. The Gigantopithecus has a body that is very scary. The body is segmented with multiple limbs and some delightful spikes. Its claws weren't just big, they were spring-loaded, ready to snap up any unsuspecting fish. The largest of these claws could reach 18 inches, complete with spikes. That is a full-blown aquatic hunter. These sea scorpions like to take walks on the beach. They crawl ashore, probably to woo their mates and shed their skin. Imagine finding the molt of one of these creatures on the shore. You're there, about to have fun. You see this giant exoskeleton, and suddenly the idea of a quick swim feels challenging. Number 5. Megalodon. The name of this creature itself sounds mysterious, and honestly, it might as well be. The shark wasn't just big, it was colossal. We're talking about a 59-foot-long shark that made the great white look like, well, a goldfish. With a jaw nearly 7 feet wide and 5 rows of 276 teeth, this was one sea creature that you wouldn't want to bump into while you swam. This creature didn't have an average shark tooth. They were compressed, blade-like, and built for slicing and dicing through tough prey. They're like a set of steak knives, but scarier, and attached to a massive shark. Sharks generally have skeletons made of cartilage, but they're not particularly good at sticking around in the fossil record, so most of what we know about megalodons come from its jaws and a few trace fossils. The body shape of the megalodon was likely similar to a great white shark, but with the megalodon hitting the gym regularly and using steroids, if you catch my drift. The megalodon hunted like great white sharks, and it would have ambushed prey from below with precision strikes. This shark was taking its prey by complete surprise, like a sneak attack in the ocean, somehow, with a massive body. And when it comes to their diet, there's evidence such as teeth marks found in the fossilized whale bones indicating that megalodon sharks had a particular preference for whales. Remarkably, their teeth were so robustly constructed that they could bite into bone without any risk of damage. Number 6. Terror birds. Phorushastidae, also known as terror birds, were the kind of creatures that would give Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds a run for its money. These flightless, feathered creatures were the rulers of South America from 1 to 2 million years ago, during the Cenozoic period. Standing anywhere from 3 to 10 feet tall, they were the kind of birds that wouldn't just steal your sandwich at a picnic, they might just take the whole picnic basket. And the table. One of the most terrifying things about the terror birds was their beak. This wasn't just any beak, it was a skull-crushing, bone-puncturing weapon. With a beak so powerful it could turn bones into breadcrumbs. These birds were carnivorous, which is a polite way of saying that they weren't interested in your birdseed. Their diet mainly consisted of extinct mammals and marsupials. I mean, think of a bird so fierce that it viewed mammals as a tasty snack. Now, imagine you going up against one of these birds. It's not just their height that would intimidate you, it is the knowledge that they could crush skulls with a beak. That's a whole new level of scary. It's like encountering a giant, angry chicken with a beak made of demolition. In the grand scheme of things, it's probably for the best that terror birds are extinct. After all, who needs a bird that can look you in the eye and then consider whether you're on today's menu? Number 7. Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus, the ape of ancient Asia, was not your typical swing from the trees kind of primate. Standing tall, possibly up to 10 feet, and weighing around 1,200 pounds, was more like a walking furry skyscraper with arms. This giant ape roamed the forests of what are now China, India, and Vietnam from about 9 million years ago to as recent as 100,000 years ago. Think about it. While our ancestors were trying to figure out the basics of stone tools, Gigantopithecus was probably out there thinking, who needs tools when you're this jacked? Gigantopithecus was a vegetarian, so its size was not for hunting, unless you count hunting for the best bamboo shoots as a high-stakes activity. No, its diet mainly consisted of bamboo and other plant materials. Its teeth were massive and designed to grind down tough plant material. If it smiled, it would likely be showing a set of nature's own grist mills. Despite its formidable size, it's unlikely that the Gigantopithecus was much of a runner. It was probably more into slow strolls through the woods, contemplating the complexities of prehistoric life. If Gigantopithecus and a modern human were to stand side by side, we'd look like a mini action figure next to a regular-sized action figure. Sadly, despite its grandeur, Gigantopithecus eventually went extinct. Maybe it was due to a change in climate, or maybe it just couldn't find enough bamboo to sustain its massive size. Number 8. Arthropleura. Arthropleura, the giant millipede from the Carboniferous period, was not your average creepy crawly. In fact, calling it giant is it's an understatement. At 8.5 feet long, Arthropleura was more like a subway train than a bug you'd find in your garden. It was a kind of creature that would make even the bravest of entomologists think twice about a career in bug studying. Living around 300 million years ago, Arthropleura roamed the ancient forests, which were then lush, damp, and perfect for a creature of its kind. This prehistoric millipede was so big that if it joined a parade, it would probably need its own float. Despite its daunting size, Arthropleura was a herbivore, munching on dead plant matter. This massive bug was basically a giant compost bin on hundreds of legs. Speaking of legs, imagine the sound Arthropleura made when scuttling through the underbrush. These legs were not just for show. They could move, and they could maneuver very quickly. Watching Arthropleura in action would be like seeing a centipede on fast forward. Now, let's talk about its size again, because really, I mean, how can we not? Dude, like, the Arthropleura was so large that if it were around today, it probably would get its own reality TV show, just saying. And while it isn't a predator, the sheer size of this ancient bug would be enough to give anyone a good scare. Arthropleura's size also meant that it likely had no real predators. Other creatures probably looked at it and thought, no, not messing with that. Number 9. Smilodon, commonly known as the saber-toothed cat, was the kind of feline that would make today's big cats look like household pets. Living during the Pleistocene epoch, Smilodon was not the kind of cat that you want to encounter on a prehistoric stroll. Standing as tall as modern lions and tigers, Smilodons boasted massive upper body strength, perfect for wrestling down prey that was unlucky enough to cross its path. It's like the bodybuilder of the cat world, only with fur and a real bad attitude. Then there were its fangs, those legendary, serrated, 11-inch-long canines. They weren't just for show. Smilodon used them to deliver a deadly bite, either to the throat or a lung-stabbing wound. Basically, if you got caught by a Smilodon, lights out. Smilodon called the ancient regions of North and South America home, where the climate was just right for a large, fur-covered predator. This was a world where the Smilodon was one of the largest and the top predators with a good reason. It could probably take on an animal the size of an alligator and still think twice about what's for dessert. While its bite might have been weaker than that of big modern cats, it has knives for teeth, and the strength of its bite is the least of your worries. Smilodon's hunting style was likely a mix of brute force and ambush, making it a formidable foe for any creature that crossed its path. Which of these extinct creatures did you find the most fascinating? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and share with friends who love a good adrenaline rush. Until next time, bye.